Hey everyone, this is Professor McKinney and playing pickleball here in Hickson. And what's the deal? So in this week's video, we are going to continue the discussion around staffing. What we're going to specifically focus on is we're going to talk about the selection process, and we're going to talk about actually hiring staff. So with that being said, we still have our same two guest speakers from last week, which is Fletcher French and Christian Toledano. Now, both of them are talent acquisition specialists that have worked in recruiting for many years now and have tons of great experience. But I'm going to go ahead and let you all see their introductions to kind of give you a reminder of who we're talking with.
So my name is Christian Toledano, based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I am a talent acquisition partner and have been doing that line of work for the past 8 years. What I like about HR is I like the collaboration that takes place within the work setting.
All right. Fletcher French, talent acquisitions professional for over 5-6 years now, but with all those different experiences and some good guidance, discovered that talent acquisitions is what I was good at because I can talk with people and help place jobs, and have been doing it for quite a while now and enjoy every second of it.
Awesome. Thank you guys for the quick reminder of who you are. So, with that being said, we are going to go ahead and get started on our first learning objective for Chapter 6.
How do HR professionals work with hiring managers to meet their needs and goals?
Yeah. So, how do I work with hiring managers to meet their hiring needs and goals? That's a great question. And it could be difficult. Every hiring manager is a little bit different, but that's where it's really important to make sure you have really good, clear communication. So, for instance, best practices that I like to do is when I know that there's a position become available, I schedule an intake call with the managers. So I go in depth on who they are and what they're looking for, the experience that they need. We review the job description, make sure we both have an understanding of it and how ideal candidate, is going to meet those needs and how it's going to also work with the team. So making sure that you have clear communication and guidelines on what you're going to be looking for, as well as what the next steps and processes are. So everybody's on the same page and knows, all right, so we're going to be collecting candidates, and then Fletcher's going to review them. He's going to interview the top candidates. He's going to send them over for review. From there, we're going to connect and we're going to discuss who's top and what are the next steps. So having all that outlined is really important. But then on top of that, it's make sure you have constant communication too. So it's not like, oh, I talk to them once and then I don't talk to them again for 3-4 weeks or anything. It's making sure that you have communication, rather if it's emails, phone calls, biweekly connects. I try to meet with my managers at least every other week, if not every week. We utilize another technology. We use like Teams, and we will ping each other and message every once in a while and be like, hey, can we jump on a quick call? So uh, communication, flexibility, accountability as well. If I say I'm going to talk to these candidates within a time frame, I got to do my best to do so, and vice versa. If I'm telling candidates the next two steps are going to be this, then you got to make sure that the managers are going to hold up their end, and at the very least, if anything is going to come up, to have that communication even with the candidate to say, hey, things are being pushed back a little bit, so sorry, like I'm happy to jump on a call, we can discuss any other questions you've had. So really working with the managers is, learning their best communications, who they are, what they're looking for, and then pivoting yourself to be able to be flexible with them. So that way you're going to be able to be a really good business partner with them. Because really that's what it is, the manager's looking for someone. And as a recruiter or talent acquisition professional, your job is to try and find the right fit. And you got to be as flexible as they are, but they got to also work with you, because I like to say we're kind of just keeping them in the guidelines to make sure no one jumps the gun or goes down a path that's going to lead to other conversations with other HR professionals. But it's it's a lot of fun, and you get to meet some really interesting people and deal with some different types of personalities and management styles.
What are the three types of fit?
So when we're talking about the ways that people are fit, we're not talking about fitness, right? We're not talking about how strong someone is. But what we're actually talking about is how someone fits into a role or an opportunity or a job. And there's really three types of fit that we're specifically looking at. So those types of fit, the first one is the person job fit. We also have a person organizational fit. And then we're looking at a person group fit. So person job fit, it refers to a candidate's skills and knowledge and abilities and how well those align with the job requirement, right? So think of it this way. In Antarctica, I am looking for people that can work in cold weather environments and know different types of jobs. So let's say I'm hiring for a mechanic. I'm specifically looking for someone that has the skills, knowledge, and ability to be able to work as a mechanic, working on vehicles, fixing vehicles in cold weather environments. So that is talking about a person job fit. Next, we're going to talk about the person organizational fit. And what that is it focuses on whether a candidate's values and their personality actually meets the organization's culture, right? So at the organization in Antarctica that I worked with, they focus a lot on protecting the environment and caring about the planet that we're on, so that way that the glacier doesn't melt, right, that they work on. And they want to make sure that they are, really taking care of the planet. So we are also looking for mechanics that care about what happened with fuel that may be falling out of vehicle engines or oil leaks. So that way they really kind of fit into the organization as a whole with their values and personality. And then finally, what we're looking at is we're looking at a person group fit. So that examines how well a candidate will work within a specific team or a group within the company to make sure that people can really collaborate effectively together. So kind of going back to the mechanic example, the mechanic in Antarctica, you want to make sure that that person would get along with other mechanics, right? And do they have certain backgrounds in their mechanical experience that could be, a strength to where maybe someone else has a weakness, right? So that way they fit within the group itself. So those are the three different types of fit. We're looking at person job fit, person organization fit, and then also person group fit.
What is the difference between screening, evaluating, and contingent assessment methods?
So to explain the difference of, screening applicants or evaluating applicants or even contingent assessment methods, right? When we're looking at candidates, it's important to kind of think of what's different between all of them. So screening methods are things that are used quickly to filter out candidates who may not meet basic job qualifications. This is typically done through application forms or even by looking at keywords on resumes. Now, evaluating methods, what those are is they take a closer look at candidates who passed the screening, right? So the screening, it pulls out people that don't even meet the requirements, right? Then evaluating is when you're looking deeper into someone as a candidate. So you can do that through using tests or interviews, right, to really assess someone's suitability for a role. Then you get to a contingent assessment method. So a contingent assessment method is used after a job offer has been made, right? But it is contingent on things like a background check or a medical exam, which someone, would need for their final qualifications within a certain position.
What is the difference between structured, behavioral, and case interviews?
Yeah, so differences between structural, behavioral, and case interviews are going to be, and I'm giving you my point of view, my perspective, and what I've seen in the past. So it may be kind of different to maybe what other recruiters tell you. In my roles that I've had, structured interviews have always been sort of paneled style. So you meet with the hiring manager, you may meet with the operations team member, someone from HR, someone from finance, depending on the role that you're going to be applying to. And then they each get a set of questions that they're going to be asking you, whether that's about your technical experience or just your experience in general for the position that you're applying to. That and so that way they can kind of get a gauge of how you would perform in that role should they decide to hire you. So that's been my experience with structured interviews. So you get the panel, whether that's virtual or in person, and those guys have a set of questions at the end of the interview. They score it and send that back to the recruiter. You kind of calibrate on it and then end up making a decision on which candidate you want to go with, or if you want to open the pool of candidates back up again with the more refined search string. The behavioral interviews, those are going to be sort of, they'll ask you questions about what type of experience you've had that's going to relate to the position you're applying to. So if I'm a marketing coordinator, I'm applying to a marketing coordinator and I'm being interviewed, they're going to ask me questions like, tell me about a time where you've had to generate leads and provide those to the sales team. What was the ROI there? So those are going to be, I'm going to rely on my experience that I've had in the past as a marketing coordinator, where I've partnered with sales and provided them with some sort of some leads that where they can get traction. So a lot of TED W questions. Tell me about, explain a time when, describe a time when you did this. So those are going to be the behavioral questions, and the tip I would give candidates who are interviewing is to use the STAR method for that. STAR method is going to be going back to a situation, task, action, and result. So briefly describe the situation, talk about the task, what you did to complete the objective, and then describe the result toward the end. Case interview is going to be more something that I have seen is it's going to be more for high level roles. So we're thinking maybe I've seen it in a general manager position who's over a warehouse. They've got some cases that they are assigned. So, hey, we're providing you with these scenarios. During your panel interview, you're going to walk us through each of those scenarios, how you would resolve the issue. And on top of that, here's an Excel spreadsheet. I want to test your competence in a profit and loss statement. So here is a P&L example. Put it, put it together, and you will also present on that. Other jobs that do this are maybe like instructional designers, where you have to present your work, whether it's to be a facilitator or a graphic designer. That's where I've seen case interviews take place. There may be a few that I may be missing, but that's just my experience with them.
What are some factors that can influence the content of a job offer?
So a contingent job offer, it can be influenced by many different factors. Some of those factors include, the organization's compensation policies, the applicant's qualifications, and even the job market conditions. Additionally, there's some factors like internal equity, which is fairness within the organization, and even external competitiveness, which is like offers from other companies that can sometimes play a role, as well as any specific requirements or negotiations that are required from the applicant.
What are the three types of fairness?
So, when looking at fairness within the hiring process, there's really three types of fairness that we look at. So, we look at distributive fairness, we look at procedural fairness, and then we also look at interrational fairness. So, distributive fairness, what that does is it actually refers to how fair outcomes are. So, like, a job offer or a salary. Is that job offer fair or is that salary fair? That's distributive fairness. Now, when we're talking about procedural fairness, that relates to the perceived fairness of the methods that are used to make hiring decisions. And then the interrational fairness, what that does is it deals with how candidates feel that they're being treated during the hiring process, such as, how respectfully are they being treated by the company, or how transparent has the communication been handled while they've been going through this whole process.
What are the differences between implicit and explicit employment contracts?
So when we're talking about the difference of implicit and explicit employment contracts, explicit employment contracts are written agreements that clearly outline the terms of the employment. So that could include things such as a job title, your salary, the job duties, the benefits, right? The best way to think of it is like it's a written job letter, offer letter, right, for a role. Now, the opposite of that is an implicit contract, and those are not written anywhere. And they're typically based on assumptions or verbal agreements about expectations between an employer and an employee. Implicit contracts, they often arise from company policies or practices where employees assume that they will be followed. So, the best way to think of it is that implicit contracts are like written job offers. And an implicit contract would be when someone, a business owner just says, hey, do you want to come work for me and I'll pay you this much? But nothing's written. Most people, when they are going to work for a job, they actually want a written offer letter, which is a form of an explicit employment contract, right? It's a written agreement.
What is the role of succession management in organizations?
So succession planning and succession management is really important when you work in HR. Whether it's a large organization or a small organization, you want to make sure that you're doing really well at your succession planning and succession management. So succession management, what that is that it's the process of preparing and identifying employees who can step into key leadership or critical roles in the future. It ensures that an organization has a pipeline of different candidates or talent that are ready to fill positions when necessary. So what this does is it helps maintain business continuity and it reduces the risk of disruption within the workplace if a key employee leaves or retires. So succession planning, it often involves, training development programs specifically aimed at grooming employees for future leadership roles. If one thing as an HR manager to me is that if I see a manager or a department head or someone with key knowledge in the company start to kind of show signs that they're unhappy in their work, and I can start suspecting that someone's probably going to be leaving soon or start looking for jobs. It's really important, even before that, but to start thinking, hey, if this one person leaves, what person or two people or three people could possibly fill in the gap. You constantly want to be thinking about succession planning and succession management, so that way when those people leave, operations still continue. And that there's no issues within the business productivity. So I hope that you have been able to take something away from this video where we've covered the key learning objectives for Chapter 6 in the textbook, which is all about selecting staff and hiring people, right? So, once again, I say this every week. These videos do not replace actually reading the text. The text goes into a lot more detail, and it covers a lot more things that we just kind of touch the surface on. So make sure to read the chapters in your text. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, because, when we talk about staffing, last week we talked about sourcing and recruiting. In this video, we're talking about the selection and the hiring process. These are key things that you can take with you in the future, whether you're an HR professional or a general management professional, or really anything within business, because at some point you will be a part of the process. So it's good to know these things. And with all that being said, I look forward to the next video with you next week. So see you then.